Is this the beginning of the end for North American trade as we know it? Canada just made a bold move, shifting its trade focus from the US to the European Union at 0% tariffs. With tensions rising and new trade deals reshaping global markets, could this signal the collapse of NAFTA as we know it? In this video, we break down what's really happening, why Canada is making this pivot, and what it means for the future of trade between the US, Canada, and the EU. Buckle up. This could change everything. For years, Canada has relied heavily on the United States for trade, but that dynamic is shifting fast. With rising trade tensions and unpredictable new US tariffs, Canada is making a bold move to diversify its economic partnerships. Trade Minister Mar Young's latest trip to Europe sent a clear message. Canada is actively reducing its dependence on the US by strengthening ties with other global markets. One of the biggest steps in this direction? Expanding trade with the European Union through CETA, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. Since this deal took effect, trade between Canada and the EU has skyrocketed by over 65%, marking a huge success. But Canada isn't stopping there. During her visit, Minister Young zeroed in on three critical sectors: minerals, energy, and technology exports. These industries are booming, and Canada is positioning itself as Europe's go-to supplier. But this strategy isn't just about Europe. Canada is also shifting its energy exports to Asia. For decades, the US bought nearly all of Canada's oil, 97% of it to be exact. Now that's changing. New agreements with Japan and China are opening doors for Canadian energy in broader markets. At the same time, Canada is strengthening trade ties with Indonesia, South Korea, and other Indo-Pacific nations through the CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. By tapping into some of the world's fastest-growing economies, Canada is securing its long-term economic resilience. Mar Young's visit to Brussels wasn't just another diplomatic trip. It was a signal of Canada's larger strategy. The goal is clear: build stronger trade alliances and reduce dependence on any single country. And while CETA has already proven to be a success, there's still a lot of untapped potential. Take this: a significant portion of Canadian exports to the EU aren't even taking advantage of the preferential treatment offered under the agreement. In 2020, only 57% of eligible exports benefited from CETA's perks. That means many businesses are leaving money on the table, simply because they don't fully understand how to leverage the deal. Minister Young is determined to change that. She's making it a top priority to help Canadian businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, navigate international trade. And that's a big deal, considering SMEs make up 98% of all Canadian businesses. Making it easier for them to expand into global markets could be a game-changer. To support this push, Canada launched the Can Export SMEs program, offering financial assistance of up to $75,000 for businesses looking to break into international markets. Since its launch in 2016, the program has helped thousands of companies go global, but it became even more essential during the COVID-19 pandemic. Recognizing that businesses needed new ways to connect with global buyers, the program adapted, covering costs for setting up online stores, hiring digital marketing experts, and even attending virtual trade shows. It also helped businesses meet international regulations and secure market certifications, ensuring they could compete on a global scale. Simply put, Canada is rewriting its trade playbook. For years, it leaned heavily on the US as its main economic partner. But now, that's changing. With new trade deals, expanded partnerships, and a major push to break down barriers, Canada is making sure its economy isn't tied to just one country. At the heart of this shift is CETA, the trade agreement between Canada and the European Union. It's been in place for a while, But now, Canada and the EU are fine-tuning the details to make trade even smoother, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. Why? Because SMEs are the backbone of the economy. Making trade fairer and easier for them means more jobs, more investment, and stronger global connections. But Canada's trade ambitions go beyond just goods and services. There's also a big push to recognize professional qualifications between Canada and the EU. That's great news for professionals looking to expand their careers internationally. Then there's the big-ticket item: critical minerals. These essential materials power everything from electric vehicles to wind turbines, and Canada and the EU are strengthening their partnership to secure reliable supplies. This isn't just about economics. It's a strategic move to reduce dependence on countries that don't always share the same values. Back in 2021, Canada and the EU launched a partnership focused on raw materials, working on better ways to mine, refine, and recycle these minerals while keeping environmental and ethical standards high. But Canada isn't just extracting resources, it's making sure its mining industry respects Indigenous rights, protects the environment, and boosts local economies. To back this up, Canada rolled out its critical minerals strategy, backed by nearly $4 billion in funding. The goal? To become a global leader in responsibly sourced minerals. That means using greener mining techniques, investing in recycling technology, and ensuring Indigenous communities benefit from mining projects near their lands. This shift isn't just about supply chains. It's about positioning Canada as a key player in the world's transition to clean energy. With skyrocketing demand for electric vehicle batteries, solar panels, and high-tech innovations, Canada is making sure it stays ahead of the game. Canada is making sure it has a seat at the table. But its trade ambitions go beyond Europe. Trade Minister Mar Young's recent visit to Brussels highlighted Canada's broader strategy: diversifying exports, strengthening international partnerships, and reducing its economic reliance on the U.S. That's why Canada is expanding trade in Southeast Asia, working closely with countries like Indonesia and Ecuador, and pushing for more trade agreements beyond North America. At the same time, there's a growing focus on fixing trade issues at home. Believe it or not, Canada has plenty of internal trade barriers that make it harder for businesses to operate smoothly across provinces. Transport Minister Anita Anand has been leading efforts to break down these obstacles, ensuring goods, services, and workers can move more freely within the country. So, why the sudden urgency? Because things took an unexpected turn in late 2024. During a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump made an unusual suggestion to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He floated the idea of Canada becoming the 51st U.S. state. At first, it seemed like an offhand comment, met with some awkward laughter. But then, Trump doubled down. On December 10, 2024, he took to Truth Social, referring to Trudeau as Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. By December 18th, he was claiming, without evidence, that many Canadians actually supported the idea. Then, in early 2025, tensions between Canada and the U.S. escalated even further. Trump, back in the political spotlight, ramped up his rhetoric against Canada, accusing it of failing to secure the shared border. But instead of focusing solely on border policies, he took things much further, proposing a 25% tariff on all Canadian imports, unless Canada made significant changes. Then came an even bolder claim. Trump insisted that the U.S. was practically subsidizing Canada, throwing out an unverified number, $300 billion, and offering what he called a solution. If the U.S. was financially supporting its northern neighbor, why not make Canada the 51st state? Naturally, this didn't sit well with Canadians. On January 7, 2025, Trudeau didn't mince words. There isn't a snowball's chance in hell that Canada would become part of the United States. But Trump wasn't backing down. On Christmas Day, 2024, he returned to Truth Social, promising Canadians that if they joined the U.S., taxes would drop by 60%. Businesses would double in size, and they would gain full military protection. A month later, he pushed the idea even further. During a press conference on January 7th, he ruled out military action but made it clear he intended to use economic pressure to get his way. Shortly after, he posted an image of the U.S. flag covering Canada, captioning it with a reference to Canada's national anthem. Then, on February 1st, Trump followed through on his earlier threat, announcing that 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods would take effect on February 4th. The next day, Trump doubled down on his annexation stance, claiming that Canada could avoid tariffs and gain privileged security status if it simply agreed to become a U.S. state. Canada wasted no time responding. Just one day later, the Trudeau government struck back with its own 25% tariffs on $155 billion worth of American imports. But beyond the immediate trade battle, something much bigger was at play. While Trump's remarks sparked outrage and debate, his aggressive stance toward Canada wasn't just about border security or trade disputes. At its core, this was about resources. The U.S. has long depended on Canada's vast supply of raw materials. But as global markets shift and energy strategies evolve, that dependence has only grown. One of the biggest factors? Oil. Canada ranks among the world's top crude oil producers, pumping out 4.6 million barrels per day as of 2023. Nearly 97% of those exports go straight to the U.S., making Canadian oil a critical part of America's energy system. Alberta's oil sands lead the charge, and U.S. refineries, especially in the Midwest and Gulf Coast, are heavily reliant on this steady supply. In 2023 alone, crude oil exports generated $124 billion for Canada's economy. Beyond oil, natural gas is another key part of the equation. Canada, the world's fifth-largest producer, extracts 17.9 billion cubic feet daily, most of which flows south through an extensive pipeline network. These exports were valued at $113 billion in 2023, further cementing Canada's role as a primary energy supplier for the U.S. But energy isn't the only thing on the table. Canada is also one of the world's most important sources of critical minerals, essential for modern technology. Nickel, a major component of electric vehicle batteries, saw Canada produce nearly 59,000 tons in 2023. About half went to the U.S., while other buyers included China, the Netherlands, and Japan. Aluminum is another key resource. In 2022, Canada ranked as the fourth-largest producer with an output of 3 million metric tons. The industry, valued at $16.5 billion in 2024, benefits from Canada's reliance on hydroelectric power, making its production far cleaner than most global competitors. Gold remains a high-value asset. In 2022, Canada mined over 205 tons, ranking fifth worldwide, with most of it exported to the UK, Switzerland, and the US. Hydroelectric power is another major Canadian advantage. Ranking third globally in hydroelectric capacity, Canada exported over 50 terawatt-hours of hydroelectricity to the U.S. in 2022. With so much wealth in natural resources, Trump's aggressive economic stance toward Canada wasn't entirely unexpected. His administration framed it as a way to strengthen U.S. security and economic stability, claiming that closer integration, if not outright annexation, would ensure steady access to these vital materials. But Canada wasn't buying it.